I saw a rainbow on the way over here.
Oh.
Yeah. Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, everyone.
How did you guys ring in the year?
Well, we often have a party. We did this year. We had a very intimate party, about 20 close friends in San Francisco, and it was really nice, low key, families and some kids and friends, and it was great. Julia had the brilliance of ordering dumplings from a famous place over in the Sunset.
Kingdom of Dumpling?
No, I can't remember what it's called. And
It's the
then
only dumpling
also
worth
from
eating.
Mama Cheese up on 18th and Diamond. We bought so many dumplings from Mama Cheese that they closed.
Wow.
Wow, really? You shut them down?
They were like, that's it for us. We're done.
Wow.
They all got the night early.
Well, that's good.
No, I think it was
You-
great.
you-
New Year's
you-
Eve.
yeah.
And then we went to Restaurant Depot and we bought a bunch of bamboo steamers.
Mm.
And we had we had all 6 burners of our stove going on frying pans with a little bit of water, steaming veggie and meat dumplings and
Nice.
chicken
Oh, that's
wings.
brilliant.
This is Julia's idea. She's just so good at this. And we ended up with almost no food left at the end of the night and nobody went hungry.
Perfect. Like making a big meal like that, especially if you have a bunch of people over, and then having enough food for everybody but not running out. That's threading the needle.
Totally threading the needle. So what we're going to do later on this week is we're going to sit down and look at exactly who was there, how many bodies were in the house over the course of the evening, how much food we ordered, and then we've got a metric.
I've thought about doing that for a lot of things. Like I'm not sure how long a tube of toothpaste lasts in my house. It seems like between 3 and 5 months, maybe.
Yeah, have you ever thought about doing, those guys on the web who log everything all year long?
Yeah, it seems like now's the time to start, right?
Yeah, right.
Um,
I myself have been taking pictures. I've built every day this year so far, and I know it's only the
Oh,
third day,
wow.
fourth day.
fourth day.
I want to build something every day, whether it means that if I'm in the middle of nowhere and I grab a coat hanger and my Leatherman and make something,
Yeah.
that's what I do. But I'm going to build something and take a picture of it every single day.
There's
Cool.
psychology to the streak of continuing to do something, whether it's for fitness or for creating something or making something. Jerry Seinfeld used to do it. He used to have a big calendar on his wall and mark a big X for every day he wrote,
Right.
like a joke. And then if you don't, once you have that hole there, like your brain doesn't want to. Like,
Nope.
It rebels against it.
It's yeah. I mean, it's never stopping is an important thing.
How did you guys ring in the new year?
Well, I was up in Sonoma with some friends. They had rented a house and said, "Hey, you guys want to come up? If you guys cook, we have a place to stay."
Oh, nice.
So Gene and I and the Munchkin went up and we made a ton. We made way more food than was needed, as you kind of do.
Yep.
I did the Serious Eats prime rib twice over the holiday.
nice.
Wow.
So Kenji's prime rib, the one that you put in the fridge 5 days in advance, salt it, and just let it salt cure. Even though my oven conked out on Christmas Day
Ooh.
and I had to do an emergency sous vide, we ate at like 10 o'clock that night, still turned out amazing.
Wow.
So highly recommended that.
The emergency sous vide.
I was sitting there. I was like, I opened the oven 2 hours before the meat was supposed to be done because I was doing it. It's like you cook it at 150, 170 degrees, as low as your oven goes.
Yeah.
And I opened the door and I stuck my hand in there. I was like, man, it feels a lot cooler than 170 degrees. Wait, this hasn't cooked at all. And it was the full on Christmas emergency.
Yeah.
And then it worked out, so
Brilliant.
it was all good.
That's
but
awesome.
we had a really good time. Norm?
I was over at a friend's place in Alameda with some friends I've tested. Hung out with Sean Charlesworth, Frank
Oh,
Polito,
lovely.
Rebecca Watson, and just had a lovely New Year.
Excellent.
Yeah. Ate
Excellent.
a lot of chicken wings.
I'm going to do Rebecca's Quizotron.
Really?
Yeah.
For Sketchfest?
Mhm.
Cool.
I'm doing lots of things for Sketchfest.
You're available, it turns out.
Yep, it turns out I am unemployed. Unemployment 2016.
Hey, high five.
That's what we're doing here.
Sorry, Norm.
No, I'm actually not going to make a thing out of that because, I've had a successful television show for 13 years. So to say I'm unemployed I felt like dissing and shitting on people who are genuinely unemployed and looking for work. And I don't want to do that because being unemployed is tough and not simple.
Yes, I'm a little bit on the other side of it. It's
What you mean to say is you don't have the same regimented schedule
It's
as
true.
you used
My
to.
schedule has changed radically and many plans are being made.
going from having basically no free time. I mean, I thought I had no free time for a long time. Then I met you, and I realized you really had no free time. But like just anytime the amount of free time you have expands, even if it comes with a decrease in the amount of available funds, it turns out you can do some constructive stuff with it.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm just opening my head up to building things over. So over the last 3 days, for instance, I've been making a piece of Apollo hardware with my new sewing machine. I'll end up doing a piece on Tested about it. We'll shoot that next week. But it's been liberating just to come in here for 2 or 3 hours and do something and then go back home and chill out, take the dogs down to the park, have a latte,
spend some time with your kids.
Watch a movie.
I've read several books over Christmas. Oh God, there's so much we haven't talked about. I spent the day over at Intellectual Ventures in Seattle.
Ooh.
Woo.
Oh, hold on.
No, I mean, look, yes.
Hold on.
Well, I had a really fun time over there.
It's really
got a fun shop.
It's like a playground. Isn't that the best shop you've ever seen?
It is a great shop.
It turns out supervillains always have good shots.
Wow. Well, they're killing mosquitoes.
I
With
watched
lasers.
them kill mosquitoes. They killed mosquito with lasers in front of me as a demo. It was great. My friend Pablos Holman is a project manager over there, and he gave me the grand tour. I met Nathan and saw the kitchen, and it was fun.
Did you tell him that you had the casting?
I didn't. I totally
the
forgot
skull?
to
I
tell him
told him you had the casting.
You did.
He was unimpressed. I mean, I'm going to go and tell you, I've seen some people that were nonplussed before when you share information with them. He could not have been less plussed than the amount that he was.
I think that impressing Nathan is a gargantuan achievement, perhaps.
He's maybe, Anyway, I mean, I joke about Intellectual Ventures. I had lunch with some of the guys from Chef Steps when they were down showing the Jewel, which is their new immersion circulator.
I saw it up there in Seattle that same day. I hung out with Chris Young for a while.
Yeah, Chris was down. He's super interesting guys, really, really smart. And they came out of, a lot of those folks came from the modernist run. And the stuff that Nathan, like, there's a lot of good that comes out of IV. There's also a lot of bad. And we don't need to get into that here. We've talked about it before.
But I definitely want to do some coverage of Chris for Tested because he's doing some really cool stuff.
We did a run up there a few months ago, and I think Norm, you should continue that, or if you want, I can run up. Send me a trip to Seattle. I'm always around. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I want to say something, because I think this may be of interest to our listeners.
Yes.
Applications for the next wave of astronauts are open until I think February 12th or February 16th. So that means ISS astronauts, the next wave of ISS astronauts, the next class, private space flight. So Dragon and the SpaceX and the Boeing capsules
still goes through NASA.
Always goes through NASA.
Yep.
And then also the Orion. So that's the Moon and Mars applications. So presumably you could go to the USA job site and be the first person that puts foot on Mars.
I don't want to go to Mars.
I know you don't want to go to Mars.
I don't want to go to Mars, but I'd love to visit the ISS as a civilian ambassador.
Yes. Did you go through the application process? Did you?
I have not yet, but I'm going to.
You are.
Can I get a recommendation? Do I know anybody, put in a good word for me? I'm out there.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask Chris to write me a letter.
Yeah. I mean, what are the
requirements?
That would be the point at which he'd go, Adam, we're going to need to talk.
Yeah.
It's a little different than a quote for a book.
Your attention span, maybe.
I've been to space with people who aren't good in space, and I wouldn't go. No. Yeah. I'm imagining the worst case scenario of Chris letting me down easy.
I like that you immediately go to the Chuck Yeager test pilot / astronaut / now airline pilot voice.
Yeah.
The interesting thing to me, just kind of looking over the site, David Newstrom posted it the other day on our Twitter.
David Newman.
Newstrom. I don't know where I get Newstrom from, but and she the criteria are really interesting. It's super worth looking at. It's like Bachelor of Science. They have specific degree requirements, so it's engineering, science, no technical degrees. But it's stuff that a lot of people have. So you may be more qualified to be an astronaut than you think you have.
It's not just pilots.
I have a high school diploma. What about my package design classes from the School of Visual Arts?
That's pretty good. You used to be a professor. That counts. Do you have an honorary doctorate any place?
I do have an honorary doctorate from the University of Twente in the Netherlands.
There you go.
Yeah, so I met the Queen of the Netherlands, Queen Beatrix.
What kind of shoes were you wearing?
You should apply to their space program.
Just kidding. In the back of this coffee house, you too can go to the moon.
Sorry, Holland. Anyway, to find out about that, go to, I think it's on USA.1jobs or whatever. It's the same place you apply to be a mailman. So.
I mean, it's a great
or maybe
time for
not.
them to
Mailman.
solicit.
Did you ever read Mailman by Charles Bukowski?
No. Is it a poem?
No, it's a book.
Okay.
He was a mailman for like a decade and a half, and he writes about it. It's intense and, per Bukowski, dark as hell. I think in the middle of the book, he worked for them for a few years and then stopped and then worked for them again. And in the second half of the book, when he's like, I went back to the post office because somebody told me something. I'm still trying to find that guy, he wrote.
Okay.
Hey, there's been a lot of movies that came out. We did the Star Wars spoiler cast.
Yes, so the last episode we did a big spoiler cast, and we ended the year without a ton of, because we watched a lot of movies, a lot of TV, read a lot of books, but we didn't really give our recommendations for any of the favorite media from the past year. So why not kick off this year with things from last year that we want to recommend to people?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So I didn't do my homework and I don't have a list.
Well, how about to make it easy?
Come up as we talk.
let's go in a circle.
I will tell you, I just finished River of Dreams, which is Rebecca Solnit, who's a wonderful writer. Her book about Edvard Muybridge. Edvard Muybridge, you would know if you've seen the running cycles of people running against a grid. She makes a very powerful case that he is absolutely the father of motion picture cinema. In terms of letting people understand what was possible with the camera, but also how a camera like the train caused what was popularly referred to back then as the annihilation of time and space. And it is a beautifully written book. It is not quite it's not quite a biography. It's not quite a history. It's a little bit of both, but it's also a social commentary. I found it riveting all the way through, and it's an amazing story. He's also a local San Franciscan.
And she writes about San Francisco history.
She writes a lot about San Francisco history, and Stanford was his benefactor for the longest time. It's an incredible story. And if you think you know about Muybridge, you really don't, because it's a much deeper story than I had any idea.
Oh, I can't wait to read that.
Yeah,
that sounds fabulous.
Fascinating.
I read a book called, I'm actually almost done with it. It's called The Three Body Problem by, I think it's Cixin Liu, Cixin. It's a science fiction book. It's originally a Chinese language book. It's set in the Cultural Revolution. It's about alien contact. I don't want to talk about it in any more depth than that, but it's in the same way that Murakami books kind of give you, like, a well-translated foreign novel gives you a really good glimpse into the mindset of a different culture.
Yeah.
I have the same kind of vibes. It's not at all the same kind of book as like a Murakami book.
Yeah.
But
Who does the localization?
I don't know who did the translation, actually.
God, Murakami's translator is amazing.
I mean, that's a collaboration.
It
and
has to be.
Murakami actually speaks wonderful English, so he does look over his English translations and makes corrections, apparently, which is one of the reasons his translations are so beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know who did the translation. It's actually, it doesn't say. He may have done the translation himself. I don't know
how it ends, though. They
I don't know how to
totally screw the pooch.
Based on the people who recommended this to me, I feel like I'm probably pretty good that it sticks the landing.
I figured.
And the name of that book again?
It's called The Three Body Problem.
The Three Body Problem.
It's been I don't know if it's my favorite book of the year, but it's definitely we've talked about the other books. We talked about Seven Eves at length.
Seven Eves at length. And I mentioned
Seven Eves.
Elizabeth Gilbert, The Signature of All Things.
I think
it's next, yeah.
That floored me. Totally floored me. It still sticks. It sticks with me still. Norm?
I'm going to switch over to movies, and over the break, I watched Sicario.
One
of my favorites of the year.
Really?
By far, loved it.
I don't think Emily Blunt will ever love me as much as I love her. Is she terrific in it?
She is terrific in it.
What's Sicario?
Sicario is it's a movie about the drug cartels and drug wars. It's actually a small movie. The director, who's a French-Canadian director, Denis Villeneuve, I forget. He directed Prisoners and this movie Incendies, I want to say, which I saw at the SF International Film Festival, which is all his movies end with a big gut punch. Like, you feel like
Prisoners is the one with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes, and Hugh Jackman. It's an ensemble,
very dark, and
yes, all his movies end. You leave the theater or you end the screening, and you feel like your soul's been drained.
I'm worried about that.
Well, he's directing Blade Runner 2.
Oh, but what?
Well, that seems
so.
right.
It's something I think Sicario
Yeah.
and Roger Deakins, cinematographer who did Skyfall and Coen Brothers movies, legendary DP, also did Sicario and is doing Blade Runner 2.
Ooh.
So it's kind of required viewing.
Yeah.
Plus, ends up being an amazing film.
Okay. If Deakins is doing Blade Runner 2, I suddenly have more hope.
Homework.
Also, when we talk about Blade Runner 2, I get so nervous because, it's going to such a deeply important part of history. And yet it was so lovely watching Harrison Ford totally deliver an ancient character for him. He hasn't played that character in decades, and it's just right there at the tip of his fingers. I'm looking at Han again.
Well, it was fun watching. So I watched Rogue Nation over the break, the fifth Mission Impossible movie.
Right. Oh, isn't it wonderful? No,
I love it.
I'm of two minds. I thought it was really good. Like
Yeah.
I was finished that movie. I was like, that movie was great.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it. I was like, man, they just have a series of cards on a whiteboard that say car chase, heist, death-defying stunt, and they just kind of rearrange it. I'm kind of okay with that, it turns out.
It's great. I liked it more than the Bond movie.
I liked it better than Ghost Protocol. I mean, I didn't like it better than Ghost Protocol.
It's the same movie as the Bond movie.
Well, the same
They're
premise,
identical
but
films.
so much better written and more fun.
That's the thing. I found it very entertaining. And speaking of Mission Impossible and Simon Pegg,
Mhm.
I watched Man Up, the romantic comedy starring Simon Pegg and the unbelievably wonderful and beautiful Lake Bell.
haven't
Lake
seen this.
Bell.
Who directed this? Do you know?
It is.
I can go to the internet and answer
It's
my while you
hot.
talk.
Is it Hot Fuzz Guy?
Is
Ed-
Edgar Wright?
It's not. I don't think it's Edgar Wright.
You don't like?
Not Edgar Wright. Not Hot Fuzz.
Look it up. But it's very funny. It's very sweet. Lake Bell, you might know if you ever saw How to Make It in America, which was a terrific 2 shortly run series.
She wrote and directed In
a World. She is really,
She was on The Practice. Yeah.
She's a very, very amazing actress. Really wonderful, really lovely. I met her on the red carpet a couple of years ago. She's about 7.5 feet tall. It's like hanging out with Aisha Tyler. And it's the one leap you have to make in this movie is that she's like the ugly one who can't get a date, which is hilarious because she's gorgeous. But
Ben Palmer.
Ben
is the
Palmer.
director.
Simon Pegg is a terrific rom-com leading man.
Simon Pegg's awesome. Like
He delivers in this film in a way that you just don't expect if you've only seen him do Scotty and Hot Fuzz in the Edgar Wright films.
Hot Fuzz is one of the best films of the last.
I totally agree.
Last decade,
But
and a half.
it doesn't necessarily make you finish the film going, wow, Simon Pegg's a great actor, even though he is. It's not like he's terrible in it. He actually has a terrific range, but he's got a much better. He's starting to show a deeply wonderful range, and I find that exciting. I'm for sure if Simon was listening to this, he'd be like, starting to show, fuck off. But I guess to me, it's not. It would be strange. Like, I think, Simon Pegg in a romantic comedy. That's not what I would expect. And boy, does he deliver. It's great.
So I think my 2 favorite films of last year are both big movies that everybody's seen. But I really, really loved Inside Out. Like I thought Inside Out was the best thing that Pixar has done. Probably, I mean, everything Pixar does is good. Wave. I think that it's the best thing that they've done since The Incredibles in terms of like the thing that spoke to me. And I had the benefit of watching it through a kid's eyes, which helps.
Yeah.
It's been on 100 times probably since it came out on video.
Yeah.
Did you see the edit of Inside Out?
Someone
With just Riley?
With just it's called The Outside Inside Out.
They
like
cut
just
all the
outside
inside
cut.
cuts out.
So it's
and
just-
how long is it?
it's like 12 minutes.
long?
15 minutes, and it makes perfect sense as a short film.
Really?
It totally works.
Wow. I've got to see it. I saw that it existed. I didn't watch it yet.
I really like Mad Max. I saw Trainwreck over the break, which I thought was a lovely. It's
I haven't seen it.
Also, it was good. I thought it didn't land.
It did not the premise did not deliver on the premise.
Speaking of delivering on the premise, the movie that does actually way more than you think is The Big Short.
Oh, I can't. wait to see that.
I went to The Big Short. So this is here's the pitch. It's a semi-comedy about the financial disaster of 2007,
Great.
2008. It gives you here's the thing. In order for you to get what's going on in this movie, it is required that you understand the financial instruments of credit default swaps
yeah.
and all of that. And in order to get through this exposition, they have famous people show up randomly in the middle of the film. Like, now, to explain what a credit default swap is, here's Margot Robbie in a bathtub. Here's Anthony Bourdain cooking some meat while he tells you about how this works.
Oh, that's great.
And it's brilliant. It takes you out of the film, gives you a little bit of knowledge, drops you back into the film where the cast is unbelievable. Ryan Gosling, Christian Bale, Steve Carell, thank you.
Yeah.
The cast is amazing and really, really fun, funny, disturbing, incredible.
It's called The Big Short.
The Big Short.
Why are all the good movies come
Based
out
on
at
a
the end
Michael
of the
Lewis
year?
film, based on a Michael Lewis book.
It's 'cause of the
about the same
Oscars.
thing.
All the good movies come out at the end of the year, it seems.
Oh, and I saw Hateful Eight,
Ah, yes.
which
Now, did you see the roadshow cut?
I did. I saw the roadshow cut at the Kabuki, and I don't want to talk about Hateful Eight just yet.
We'll save it.
I found it incredibly intense, more intense than I expected to, even though I'm a deep Tarantino fanatic. I want to see this movie again, maybe even 2 more times to feel like I understand it. I think there's subroutines going on in this film that are really important to talk about. And I think it might have some flaws, but again, I need to see it again.
It merits a full spoiler cast.
It's
we
a
will
lot
save
of
it for
movie.
that.
I'll go watch it between now and the next time we convene.
I'll let you know when I'm going because I might go to a matinee.
Holler and I'll come.
You and I could go.
Turns out I have time.
If you,
It's going to be playing in January here at the
I want
Alamo.
to. I'm going to go. I'm down to see it twice. I want to go see the full.
They'll have the roadshow version at the Alamo.
they will?
Oh, yes, they will.
so there's a
Holler,
roadshow version right now. It's 3 hours long with an intermission and overture. You walk away with a program.
Yep.
It is a fun way to watch the movie, and if you're going to treat yourself to an evening at the cinema.
And there's some. I'll say this about it. There's some genuine outright belly laughs, and there are few characters in film I have ever seen that are more wicked than Jennifer Jason Leigh's character in this film.
He loves Jennifer Jason Leigh.
She's amazing.
So
She's amazing, and this is an incredible cast. You only have to look at the poster to
yeah.
see how incredible the cast is. She's incredible.
So the thing for me over the years with Tarantino films, I've realized, and it took me a while to get here, is that the further on you get, the less I'm able to rewatch. So, for example, I've watched Kill Bill hundreds of times. I've watched Jackie Brown, which, by the way, if you haven't watched Jackie Brown lately, go watch Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown improves on every viewing. I've said this before. I'll say it again. It's just like hanging out with Ordell and Jackie and Robert Forster, Max Cherry, all those guys. It's amazing.
Max Landis on Twitter was talking about Jackie Brown the other day. I think he said it's his favorite Tarantino film.
It might be mine.
And like, I'm coming around.
It's so many little moments of that movie stick with me when he's driving in the car with Ordell and he puts on the Delphonics up on 100 and Ordell just turns to him and is wondering, what is this white guy doing listening to this music? And it's the best.
The thing about Django, I watched
Django.
once. I watched it in the theater.
It's required that I do that every time.
It's good.
someone says
It's contractual.
Django.
I'm sorry. But I didn't. I watched it when it came out on video. I don't know if I want to watch Django anymore.
Django's
Oh,
intense upon a second viewing, although I have watched Inglourious Bastards 3 or 4
Many
times.
times.
I watched it. I watched it. Like I said, each one is a little bit
Fun
less.
movie.
Is this going to continue that trend? Or am I going to want to watch this 3 or 4
You
times?
might
It's a
not be
movie.
able to take its gore on repeated viewings.
I think if you look at the oeuvre of Tarantino, Inglourious Bastards and Django they're similar movies. They're timepieces, they're revenge movies.
Well, they're about
and-
building tension and releasing it all at once.
Most of his movies have that. But like Reservoir Dogs and Hateful Eight maybe go together as a pairing. They're different types of movies, and some types you can watch more than others.
Yeah.
So I have long maintained on this podcast that there are different categories of great movies. There are movies that you love. There are movies that are really important to you. There are movies that elicit certain emotions. And then there are movies that are, I think, objectively perfect films. I think of Galaxy Quest, Raiders of the Lost Ark, both as being objectively perfect films.
Back to the Future.
I disagree
I
with
know
that
you
one.
disagree.
But that's fine. I don't care. We can totally disagree. Thing 2, Thing 1 and Thing 2 both spent time with me out on tour. Thing 2 is behind the camera right now. No, you don't get to see him. And he and I sat and watched one of my all-time favorite movies on the bus on tour, The Departed.
Oh, that movie's great.
And I got to tell you, sitting through it from start to finish again, It's amazing. It's amazing.
Did you watch it with Infernal Affairs?
I have still never seen Infernal Affairs.
That's the thing that Departed was based on. An adaptation
it's a Korean
of.
But it's
film,
a
right?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. It's a great film. It's a great adaptation. I know because only the plot structure is similar. All the individual motivations have changed in many significant ways, and so unlike something like. There are plenty of adaptations where it's just like they grab the whole thing wholesale, like let the right one in, let me in.
Yeah.
This one is a subtle reimagining of a great plot for a totally different culture and a beautiful way of doing
The
it.
cloth with which Scorsese cuts the film out of is made of America and Boston.
Right.
And
And then there's also the fact that it was only in the edit that they decided to put the opening credits 15 minutes in.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that movie wouldn't have worked
if I remember correctly. That's his editor going, "Here's what we should do. Everything of this that you shot is prologue, and then we cut to the Irish band screaming while he's doing exercises in prison, and it's just so great."
Well, it builds an incredible amount of tension early in the film that you don't even realize is there until the credits pop.
And also Vera Farmiga, it's like he's grabbed a new Faye Dunaway out of the ether and put her in this movie. She's so amazing.
have you ever seen Boardwalk Empire?
I have watched some Boardwalk Empire.
I watched all of it over the break.
Oh.
And it's fantastic. If you like Scorsese and his love for America and mob stories, it's worth it.
Okay. All
Worth
right.
it to the end.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of viewing.
57 hours.
There's a lot of wow. Damn, Norm.
Hey, I heard you're unemployed.
What else have we got?
Video games.
Video games. I'm still playing Millipede. I just had it fixed.
Okay, that's pretty good. I played a game while you were on the phone.
Yeah.
Mario Maker. So Mario Maker is it's exactly what the name says.
Yeah.
It is art assets and rules from Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, and New Super Mario Brothers, the ones from like 3 years ago. And it turns out, and you use the Wii U, so you use that it has a touchpad with a stylus.
Mm-hmm.
You can place blocks. You basically everybody who's ever played Mario understands the rules of this world, right?
Right.
You go right,
so you can
jump,
make really
you
difficult
smash blocks. You can make incredibly difficult ones. It's much harder to make something that's easier and fun than to make something that's insanely difficult, it turns out.
I was hanging out with my nephew, my lovely nephew, up in Portland over Christmas, and he was making Mario levels with that game. On his phone.
It's only on the Wii U.
Okay, this is different then.
I think you can pick levels to play or something on your phone. I haven't done any of that stuff. The thing there's two things I like about it. One is that it's basically infinite new Mario levels.
Right.
And it is very much proof of if you give a million monkeys, an infinite number of monkeys, an infinite number of typewriters, eventually Hamlet will emerge.
Yes.
There's probably a Hamlet level in Super Mario Maker.
Well, the response to that is now thanks to the internet, we know this is not true.
Somewhere in the YouTube comments.
Hey, The Martian came out of the internet.
Hey, is there
Norm's right.
Yes, it is. Is there a Chrome extension which will allow me to never have to read comments again?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Good. I need it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to read comments anymore.
You got to be careful.
Done with them.
You got to be careful with that. You got to be careful with Chrome extensions. There's security risks, but we'll talk about that later. We'll circle back in a future episode about that. I think Mario Maker is really, really super important, both in terms of video games, which that's well established, but for people who like to make stuff, it gives you an interesting new way to think about how game construction works and what's fun.
Oh, nifty.
And if you want to get started on that and want to learn about making good Mario Maker levels, there's a book that a guy named Raf Koster wrote years and years ago. He's one of the early MMO architects. He made Star Wars Galaxies and other stuff at Sony years ago. But it's called A Theory of Fun, and it's about the difference between games and play and theory of gameplay and stuff like that. It's super interesting, and if you read that, it's a picture book. It'll take you like a half hour. Your Mario levels will be better.
Oh.
Everybody knows I don't play games very much. Thing 2 and I also did buy the Star Wars game. What's that called? Battlefront. We bought Battlefront and we played some of that, and that was really fun.
It's gorgeous.
My method when I find that stormtroopers are shooting at me is to look at the sky and spin around. That turns out to be my go-to move. That seems to be what I'm capable of.
The late great Robin Williams,
Even when they're not shooting at you.
The late great Robin Williams on Letterman. The first time I ever remember seeing a video game game mentioned on like mainstream media was he was on Letterman right at the start of the CBS Letterman show.
Yeah.
And he said, "What do you do with your spare time?" And he said, "Well, I play this game called Quake. I download it for my computer and I fire it up, I jump into a level, and then next thing I know, I'm looking at the world sideways because when you get killed, your head blows off and you look at the world sideways."
Yes.
So yeah. And then Robin Williams, everyone. Yeah.
And over the past the weekend, the first episode of MythBusters Revealed aired.
Yes.
This is a big one.
Yeah, Discovery has been telling people that the season premiere is next Saturday, January 9th, 9 p.m. on Discovery. But in point of fact, the initial episode of the season happened on Saturday night, which we were covering on my social. And yeah, MythBusters revealed a bit of a teaser into how an episode of MythBusters gets put together, and also a harbinger of the next dozen or so episodes that will ring out the end of MythBusters.
So, oh, wow. Hold on. Wait just a minute. Okay. That was enough. What was, so you kind of went behind the scenes and showed like writers' rooms or production team, production meetings and all that stuff?
We did. And it, it's very entertaining how uncomfortable my crew was with having the camera on them. It's hilarious because amazingly, we pretty much have never tried this. But here, all of a sudden, we're actually shooting some scenes in which my crew is there and talking. And it was very entertaining how uncomfortable they were with it.
It's good. It's good for them.
Totally. It's great for me to kick off the season by showing how the sausage gets made, because we had such an incredible sausage factory there. The crew, I said it on tour a million times, and it just bears repeating infinitely. MythBusters wasn't just Jamie and I. It was this cadre of 18 people in San Francisco. The crew, when we were running at full bore with Cary Grant and Tori as well, was about 22 people. Still an incredibly small crew by television standards, which means that everybody is a Swiss Army knife. Everybody is putting their all into what they're doing, and a good portion of the crew, like a farm team, started out as runners and interns and became producers and A camera people, B camera people, drone operators, and wonderful experience to let them shine on the show.
That's all. I mean, it turns out the best way to make sure you get people who are reliable and awesome is to only hire people at the low level and train them into the awesome, amazing people that you want them to be.
Dave Eggers told me that they do a lot of that at 826. It's a wonderful methodology for finding out if someone has the, dovetails right with the organization, as it were.
If you can do the lowest level job, then you can, it'll work itself. It works itself up as you keep promoting people into their level of competence.
This morning I had Thing One doing some sorting for me of some Apollo level documentation that I had for my spacesuit. And he was like, "This is really tedious." I'm like, "This is 95% of the special effects industry, what you're doing right now."
I mean, was it you that told me that on Star Wars, they didn't have super glue yet? So people were just standing there holding stuff with epoxy for 10 minutes?
Yep.
Good grief.
Lauren Peterson's great contribution.
Yep.
Yeah.
Going to Eastman and coming back with this big brown tub of cyanoacrylate glue.
Incredible.
I know.
Lots to look forward to.
We hosted the Tibbets. Phil and his family came by here a week or so ago, and we had a wonderful lunch. I love the Tibbets. Just all of them. They're all awesome. They're
doing
friends of Tested. We're going to do some stuff with them. We're going to have some more fun. You'll see more Tippetness on the.
And speaking of the
site.
stuff they do a lot of stop motion, and Tippett's known for that. Did you read Charlie Kaufman's last thing? He wrote an open letter to the public about his love for stop motion animation.
Well, Anomalisa has me like I'm on the edge of my seat. I cannot wait to see this film.
Yeah, he says it's really beautiful. Everyone should read it. And he says,
I did not read this, by the way.
Oh,
no.
he says stop motion animators are observers and psychologists and engineers and physicists, because they have to watch the world and then recreate it.
Yeah.
Every piece.
Yeah.
And
he's totally right. And we did the tested piece on the chessboard. And one of the things that's really hard to understand until you actually sit.
Excuse me, it's dejarik.
What?
It's dejarik.
My
it's
apologies.
Not hollow chess, Adam. You're welcome, YouTube.
It's hard, unless you actually sit and watch a real stop mo animator do his thing. It's hard to see just how wide they actually really do see, and being able to understand the macro and the micro all at the same time.
Well, and so what we saw with the Tippett shoot, I mean, they were just animating characters. When you're doing an actual stop motion shoot in a stop motion set, and you have to the sets. When you see that scene where the background seems alive, and there's a bird flying through, and there's water flowing.
Every last thing has
like-
been touched by a
Yes.
person. Every frame, 24 frames a second, 60 seconds a minute. I mean, it's,
Breaking space time.
Yeah,
You're saying every frame is a painting.
every single frame.
On that note, anything else? Any other superlatives we want to throw out?
No, we'd love to hear what you guys, what your favorite piece of media were.
Absolutely.
In
Yeah, you
2015.
guys know the stuff that we've been reading. If you have recommendations that you think that we would enjoy, I'd love to hear about
Yeah.
them. I'm always looking for new books. I am currently reading All the Light You Cannot See. I can't remember the name of the author. It's actually quite beautiful. I've got another couple of books in the hopper that I'm hoping to dive into, and I'm actually feeling the Jones to both reread some Murakami, and it might be time again to reread some Raymond Chandler, which I do about once a year.
My next book is a history of the future in 100 objects. Was it you that recommended that to me, or was it
it's
somebody else?
It's a beautiful book.
And then also I read a graphic novel called Intro to the Alien Invasion.
Ooh.
I think it was a recommendation from Boing Boing or Laughing Squid or some blog that I read. Delightful. It's really smart. Highly recommended, and you can get it on your Kindle or whatever if you don't want to get a paper copy. So
That is awesome.
Very cool. We'll hopefully see you guys next week.
yeah. Anything, Norm, on the tested news
We
front?
will be at CES. I'm flying out in a matter of hours, and
Oh my
we'll have
gosh.
lots of cool stuff on the site.
Cool.
So
Have
yeah,
fun at CES.
Thank you.
Get some rest.
we'll see.
So we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
We'd like to thank the sponsor of today's episode of Still Untitled, and that sponsor is Casper Mattresses, obsessively engineered American-made mattresses at a shockingly fair price. And now you can get $50 toward any mattress purchase at Casper by going to casper.com/untitled and using the offer code UNTITLED. Listen, you heard us say this before. You spend a whole third of your life sleeping. So let's make sure you do it on a good mattress. Casper brings two awesome technologies together for just the right amount of sink, for better nights, brighter days, latex foam, and memory foam. And they have good bounce too. They have a risk-free trial policy and return policies, so you can try it out for 100 days. They deliver it right to your door, and if you don't like it, they'll pick it right back up. At the store, you maybe get a minute or two, maybe 5 minutes at most with those mattresses. With Casper, you actually get to sleep on it. So try out a Casper mattress today. It's $500 for a twin-size mattress, $950 for a king-size mattress, which is a great price compared to industry averages. And you can get $50 off your first purchase by going to casper.com/untitled and using the offer code UNTITLED. Thanks to Casper for supporting this podcast, and thanks for you guys for listening. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye.